We at Encounter Jesus Online followers are committed to quality content research to give you the best when it comes to growth in the Christian sphere. We go through the net for you. Pitch your tent here. We desire your gains in the knowledge of the systems of God. We ask questions to give you befitting answers. We bring Jesus closer to you.
In the beginning, God created. Somebody say God created the heaven and the earth. Verse 2. Can we read verse 2 together? 1, 2, 3, go. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. What does the Bible say in the book of Genesis 1:1? In the beginning, God what? Created. The word used there is the word created to show that he finished two things. The first one, heaven. Some other tradition says that the heavens, or some says the heaven of heavens. I'm not ready to go there. And the earth. Genesis 1:2 looks like a coincidence because the Bible is suddenly saying, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So God did two things. But one out of those two things, the Bible is now giving us a report that the earth was without form. If the Bible said God, who is the master architect, finished two things, now you are telling us in verse 2 that what the master architect did, one out of it is empty. The word used there is the word tohubohu, meaning shapeless and formless. How come? It's done the both. And the next thing God came to do is to look at the region that was shapeless and formless. Verse 3. And God said, let there be, come on now, let there be. Meaning that the response of God to chaos is light. And we have read this scripture, you can read this scripture on the surface and believe that when God said let there be light, he was calling for sunlight. He wasn't calling for sunlight. Neither was he calling for the moon, because those will later be created. When God said let there be light, Jesus came to further explain that you are the light of this world. That is, the world is empty, shapeless, and formless. Not to the degree that God has not taken responsibility, but to the degree that light here has refused to shine. You should not doubt the existence of God. You should doubt the presence of the man that God has placed in charge. A family is so bad, things are bad, people are divorcing and going separate ways, killing themselves. What is the response of God? Light! Who is that light? You! Romans chapter number 8 from verse 19. We read from verse 19 to 20. For even the whole creation, all nature waits expectantly and longs earnestly for God's sons to be made known. Waits for the revealing, the disclosing of their sonship. Look at what verse 20 says. Is it on the screen now? Give me verse 20 now. Look at it. For the creation, nature was subjected to frailty, to futility, condemned to frustration, not because of some intentional fault on his part, but by the will of him who subjected it, yet with the hope of what? That sons will rise. The reason why I'm showing you this is to understand that the strategy of God is man. You may look down on yourself and question how God will use somebody like you, considering the mistakes you have made and all those things. What you are saying may sound quite interesting. It does not change the fact that the strategy of God is what? Man. So when we judge by what happened in Genesis 1:1, why was the earth brought to nothing? Because man was not yet there. And that's why the next thing God did was to put everything in place again. So what you read in Genesis 1 is the account of a recreation. Because in Genesis 1:1, the Bible said he created. Genesis 1, the remaining verse is close to what we see in Ezekiel 37. This is God calling back the things that used to be. But there was something he did extra. He made man. How will God respond to the situation of a people that are crying? Man. When people in Egypt were crying and they were groaning to God, how did God respond? Moses. The problem is God has sent you to the place where you are to be solution, but you are joining them crying about the problem. We will not cry about the frustration in Nigeria. We will solve it. Yes. Oh, we the masses. Oh, we the... Stop that. Solve the problem. You'll be rewarded at the level of the problems you solve. The Spirit of God on our inside is not just for speaking in tongues. It's for us to bring the God kind of life. And in that God kind of life, there is wisdom. There is wisdom. The wisdom with which Daniel administrated was that wisdom. Say it again, I am wise. I will not join the multitude in complaining. I am a problem solver. I carry the Spirit of God on my inside. Everywhere I step, the influence of the kingdom is there. This is who I am. I am an extension of God's operation on the face of the earth. This is who I am. I am an extension of his influence on the face of the earth. This is who I am.